Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're the hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every day, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can view all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues that affect you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
All right, it's 5:30 on Monday, January 27th. I will call to order this meeting of the Board of Public Works. With me tonight, we have Dave Herbst, Dave Wilborn, and Don Gukowski. Kim Lobdell is excused with absence. First item on the agenda is public appearances for non-agenda items, and it looks like we have one. Indeed.
And then I'd like to talk about the contract. It's all related.
Okay, we have David Haight to speak, and officially you've got 3 minutes.
So, it's taken 6 years, but I finally figured out why all the natural water resources in the city are being destroyed. So one aspect is, in 2009, when the city put together the comprehensive plan, so if you look at like the McGaw Park neighborhood plan, tremendous studies, tremendous work done, ecology, hydrology, brought in best hydrologists in the state, how to infiltrate things, what you need to do to keep the springs in the area going, et cetera. All of a sudden in 2010, things fall off the face of the earth. And the planning, there's no planning at all. And the Plan Commission, what does it consist of? It consists of developers showing up with a proposal and the Plan Commission going yay or nay based on no information at all, because in 2020, when they updated the comprehensive plan, they ripped all the data out because they said they don't use it anymore. Well, why don't they use it anymore? Because they don't do any planning. Why is that? Because in 2010, when they passed the comprehensive plan, they didn't get an attorney. They just made things up. And what did they make up? We're going to put 3 alders as gatekeeper to amendments to the comprehensive plan. And anybody can go to 3 alders, and if they get 3 alders to sign, right through to the Plan Commission, and you get your amendment heard. And because it says not just that you get permission from the alders, but you get sponsorship from 3 alders. And alders have no power in the city when they're not operating as a group. And so for 15 years now, we've had 0 planning. And for a while, it wasn't too bad because there wasn't very much going on, right? It was 2008, recovery from, now things are going gangbusters. And what do we have? People showing up, changes here, changes there, no planning, no stormwater analysis in advance like there was for the McGaw Park neighborhood. And now we've got the mayor trying to put in 2 brand new neighborhood plans. And what's the environmental planning that happens there? Zippo. Because she was one of the alders that ripped everything out of the plan and believes that planning is allowing people to show up and just say we've got something and approving it. And I have to say that for people who are on the Plan Commission or have seen the Plan Commission, and if you're an alder, you go, okay, now what in the world is the value add of the Plan Commission? They just talk about stuff. That's our job. Our job is, as the council, is to do a bit more of a back off and then look at large scale things where we have an opinion about what's right for the city. And that's what the Plan Commission does. Well, the Plan Commission is supposed to do planning. It's supposed to do studies. It's supposed to put together traffic and water and how to get all this housing in different spots strategically. They haven't done that in 15 years. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I don't believe we have anybody online for non-agenda items either, so we can move on to the approval of the January 6th meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Excellent. Do we have any discussion?
None.
Nope. I will call a vote. All in favor of the January 6th meeting minutes signify by saying aye.
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 It is unanimous. Next on the agenda, a report from the Director of Public Works, Mr. Tim Volker, PE.
Thank you. Good evening. A couple of project updates for the Sain Road reconstruction project. We have a couple agenda items on the agenda for tonight, and then looking to award the construction contract and engineering inspection contracts at tomorrow's council meeting for phase 2 of that project. And then our 2025 street resurfacing project, we're finishing the design drawings and bid documents and looking to advertise that project next month. And then our Fitchburg Road reconstruction project, that's from Tonto Trail north to Nesbitt Road. Our property acquisition is ongoing. Well, once we complete property acquisition, we'll look to have that project bid out and hopefully start late spring, early summer for that project. And then lastly, just wanted to mention the MMSD sewer rate increase. I believe this was mentioned at the last Common Council meeting, that the average increase is about 4.5%. And with that, does anyone have any questions?
Quick question. Who did Sain Phase 1?
For the design or construction?
Both.
So the design was done by KL Engineering,
Okay.
and they also completed the design for Phase 2 and Phase 3. And then Phase 1 construction was Speedway. Speedway Sand and Gravel, I believe, is the full company name.
Okay.
Dave Herbst.
Tim, I got a question. I don't know if you'll be able to answer it, or I'm sorry I didn't give you a little warning on this, but on a year like this, or similar to last year, where we don't have much snow, we really don't have a lot of plowing activities. What does our streets department, what are the time that they normally would be spent plowing, realizing some of that's overtime when it occurs, but what do they do in the winter, and if they do not have to log large amounts of hours with those activities? And you don't have to answer that now. I'm sorry I threw it at you kind of quickly. Think about it and maybe let us know next week.
Yeah, I can tell you, I'll get more details from Mark, but I can tell you that they are helping out with tree trimming. Parks isn't the only staff that does our tree trimming. We do, streets does handle some of that. There's the holiday decorations they're taking down, looking to start probably sometime this week, next week for that. Pothole patching is ongoing if the temperature's right to do that. So I can also let you know more detail next meeting from Mark more specifically.
Sounds good. I'm not criticizing. People have asked me, and I said they're busy. Believe me, we have more to do than we can get done. But if you could, anything else you'd want to add? Thank you.
You're welcome.
How is the property acquisition going for Fitchburg Road? There were remind us how many properties there were, and like how far through it are we?
I believe was there 20 some properties?
I was going to say
around
something
that
like
number.
27 or something.
So I do know that the surveyor's been out there to stake out kind of the LTE or the temporary easements and the acquisition for the property. So those have been staked on the property, and I believe our real estate consultant has reached out to the property owners to meet with them and kind of start negotiations. I'm not quite sure where we are in the appraisal process, if that's been completed for each of the properties. But I guess the communication to reach out to the property owners has been started already.
Any other questions for Tim?
Not for Tim, but for Dave. That's an excellent question. I'm sure you got from a constituent that asked, well, what happens when folks have downtime? My thoughts are, do we have the ability to take those questions and put them on the website? Because if your constituents are having, others are, and then just we can fill them in on, they're just not sitting on their hands. They got this and this going on.
It's a good point, Don. Good point. Maybe I'll put that back on Tim.
I guess it was for Tim then. Maybe we could start.
We can look to add something like a frequently asked questions on our website. I believe there is a section for that. So that's something we can look to add that question to.
Yeah, you might want to, along with that, when does the street sweeping occur, or what is the goal of the street sweeping, or with our pollution permit and things like that. That might be another one too, people are interested in.
Yeah, and street sweeping does occur as long as the temperatures are right. Obviously once we drop below freezing, we have an issue where now we're kind of creating a icy hazardous condition with our street sweeper. So we tend to limit that when the temperatures are colder. But if they do warm up, which it looks like they are this next week or two, we may be out doing some street sweeping.
Sounds good.
Fitchburg Road with people complaining that they think they're getting ripped off on the price of their property?
Well, and that's part of the negotiation. So when we sit down with them, there'll be some back and forth, I'm sure, with some properties like we have had on previous projects. So that's part of the process with the appraisal going through and negotiating with them.
I guess the other question I have is, you get push comes to shove, do you plan on condemning and taking it?
Hopefully it doesn't come to that.
Yeah.
And that's obviously something that's always a possibility, but not what we're looking to do.
Thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, maybe it's been a little while, but in the process, even if you end up going through condemnation, they have the right to get their own appraiser, and then you can negotiate from there to say if you're way off.
Correct.
But you get at fair market a lot easier if they bring their own person in and tells them this is really what it's worth. And
yeah, and with Fitch Rona, I don't believe there was a lot of property acquisition on that. Where it was around the roundabout, but otherwise it was just temporary easements for construction.
Okay. The other side is mainly farmland too, is it not?
Correct, on the kind of the southeast end of the project.
Thanks.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we can move on. The next item on the agenda is 5A, review of utility P card and check purchases. Do we have any discussion on that?
no particular discussion, just education. In there was a couple Menards purchases for $49. All it says is parts for mats new. And then there's another one, there are a couple of them there for $950 that are ton Anton ATC or PATC. I don't even know what that's for. It's Wolf Paving, so I'm assuming it's something to do with paving project. But
break.
Yeah, so the Wolf paving, that was for the asphalt patch for a water main break on Anton. So the tons is the amount of asphalt we purchased, so 13.05 tons, and then Anton patch. So, and then the parts for mats, I'll have to check more into that. It looks like it was for water and sewer. So I think it may be Matt is our team leader for utilities, and it might be he just recently got a new vehicle, so parts to put in his vehicle, I believe that's what that's for.
Okay, no, that's fine. There was some acronyms in there that I'm not sure what that is, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Dave Herbst.
Tim, there were two bills, it comes to approximately $500,000 for the drilling of the new well.
Yep.
Is that, the drilling's completed, and I assume it's cased? Anything else now will be, I guess, first question, was it close to what you estimated for that task? I know they bid it. And second, is that completed now? Now they'll be doing the well and the well house and the piping, the rest of that. So I guess that's all was the question I had for you.
Yeah, as far as well 12, the drilling is complete. So right now we're at a depth of 1,033 feet. It's cased to about 500 feet, and then open hole to 1,033. Then we're looking to do the pump testing within the next month, and then take samples of the water. And then as far as the project budget goes, we're still on budget for that project.
Thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.
That's one of the questions I had. I'm done.
You're done? Okay. Any other questions? Okay. We'll move on to the agenda proper. First item here is 6A, Resolution R0625, awarding the contract for engineering services for oversight of South Scion Road Reconstruction Phase 2. Looking for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve R0625.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, Tim, you want to walk us through this one?
Sure. The Scion Road Reconstruction Phase 2 project includes reconstructing South Scion Road from East Sherrill Parkway to West Clayton Road. This project will include intersection improvements, traffic control, pavement marking and signing, erosion control, storm sewer, sanitary sewer, water main, and lighting. Construction oversight, including construction management, field inspection, and material sampling and testing, is needed for Phase 2 of the South Scion Road Reconstruction Project. Public Works Department annually advertises and requests proposals for general engineering services. 10 proposals were received on February 5th, 2024 for general engineering services. Staff requested detailed proposals for the South Scion Road Phase 2 oversight from 3 of those firms that submitted general engineering services proposals back in February. 2 proposals were received and evaluated for this project, deeming Ruckert Milke the firm most qualified for this work. The 2025-2034 Capital Improvement Plan includes sufficient funding for the oversight of the project. So we're looking for Common Council to approve the award of this project to Ruckert Milke in the amount of $220,890 plus $22,089 for contingencies.
Dave.
Tim, are there employees that will be doing this that we have familiarity with?
Yes, so Ruckert Milke, Corey Horton works there now. Corey used to be the Public Works Director here at the city of Fitchburg. And then also a couple members of his staff worked on our Lacey Road reconstruction project. So Corey at the time was with R.A. Smith when that project was going on. And Heidi and there's another young engineer, his name escapes me right now, that worked on our Lacey Road reconstruction project with Corey at R.A. Smith, and when Corey left R.A. Smith to work with Rupert Melke, Heidi and the other engineer went with him. So there's a lot of familiarity with City of Fitchburg and our projects and details and specifications.
Sounds good. I trust Corey. Very much.
Tim, how does the selection process get narrowed down? You said you had 10, and you went to 3, and KL dropped out because they didn't have capacity. Why wouldn't we have entertained another firm in the mix?
So out of the 10 that we got, so we advertise a general engineering services, and, you know, when projects come online during the year or throughout the year, we tend to pick the most qualified. So out of the 10, we thought Rupert Melke, Mead and Hunt, and KL would be the most qualified to handle this construction oversight for this project for roadways. You know, we wouldn't pick a firm that knew just utilities or just stormwater. You know, they needed to have roadway, stormwater, water, wastewater experience, and we didn't think any of the other firms did.
Okay, so we didn't, because some of these bigger dogs do all the stuff. Is it just a matter of they never worked in our city, and these are familiar names or people?
Well, what other bigger firms are?
I don't know the 10,
okay.
who submitted in the 10.
Okay.
It just raised a question in my brain saying, you got 10 firms coming in there unless they're really small. Well, you know, Mead and Hunt's not a small company either. Is KL.
Mead and Hunt's big.
Yeah.
KL's decent mid-size, I would say, and Rupert Melke's mid-size.
Okay. And the other ones aren't any mid-size or large ones that would have been in the mix?
I would have to take a look at the 10 that had submitted. Let me pull that up right here. I mean, there are all different sizes. You know, we had small firms submit, mid firms, and large firms, but again, it's not the size of the firms that we're looking for, it's their qualification. So if a firm, you know, just because a firm's big, obviously they have the staff that you know, can do everything, but do they know the city of Fitchburg? You know, do we want someone out in California coming here and handling water, sewer, that stuff? So
Understand.
That's
and I wouldn't expect you'd get a whole lot of firms from California. My biggest concern was you picked a firm based probably on a name from a former city employee, and I don't know him from anyone, but he's not going to be out there a lot of the time. You have some really junior staff out there. I mean, they just came out of college that are doing your stuff, and we had a issue last year on Sain Road with the as-built not being the same or the proper height, and you had to do a change order, if I remember. That was Sain. We had to do an intersection change order because the storm sewer was too high.
right. So
if you got some junior engineer, brand new, coming out there, are they going to be looking for this stuff?
So the Sain Road was by KL Engineering. Corey and his staff that are working on Sain Road Phase 2 that we're proposing right now, they did Lacey Road reconstruction project. So the two engineers that they had working on that, we were very happy with. They were younger, but we didn't have any issues on Lacey Road. Matter of fact, we came in under budget. The change orders was, 1% of the entire contract value, which is very good. So they were able to troubleshoot through issues that came up in the field and were able to handle it. We feel confident that, based on our experience with them on that project, which was $8 million, that this $2 million project, they would be more than sufficient to handle. And we did sit with Corey too, because there is a staff member or two that could potentially also help out and fill in if the engineers we worked on the Lacey Road project aren't available. that we sat down, met with them, and felt comfortable with their experience and the questions that we asked them and their responses.
Dave Herbst.
Tim, philosophical question. Should the company that did, the engineering design, should they be considered for the construction inspection or construction oversight? A lot of times there's conflict of interest. I don't know. I guess I'm asking.
Yeah,
asking your opinion.
And there's different schools of thought on that. There's some agencies that like to keep the same design engineer throughout construction, and that's actually my preference. In this particular instance, we did reach out to KL Engineering, and they did do the design. However, their workload this summer, they landed some DOT projects that involve a lot of nighttime work. So they would be sending staff to our project during the day with not much sleep, and they didn't feel that that would be a good thing. So they respectfully declined, submitting a proposal on this, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
None.
Okay. I'll go ahead and call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R0625, signify by saying aye.
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 It is unanimous. Moving on to item 6B, I'm looking for a motion to approve Resolution R0825, accepting an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Fitchburg and Dane County for paving the Capital City Trailhead parking lot.
I so move we approve resolution R-08-25.
Second.
Okay. Tim?
Yes, so this resolution is for an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Fitchburg and Dane County for paving the Capital City Trailhead parking lot. So Section 66.0301 of the Wisconsin statutes authorizes city, villages, towns, counties, and other public agencies to enter into agreements for the receipt and furnishing of services. The city owns and maintains Saline Road and has determined it necessary for public purpose to reconstruct Saline Road from West Clayton Road to north of McCoy Road. The county owns and maintains the Capital City Trail and the associated trailhead parking lot located to the northwest of the Saline Road-McCoy Road intersection. The Capital City Trail and trailhead parking lot driveway are required to be relocated as part of the project to provide safer access for pedestrians, bicyclists, and vehicular traffic through the Saline Road-McCoy Road intersection. Both the city and county determined it beneficial to incorporate paving the existing gravel parking lot as part of the project due to economies of scale. The city shall be responsible for paying the costs associated with abandoning the existing trail and relocating the new trail north of the parking lot. The county shall be responsible for paying for the costs associated with paving the existing gravel parking lot. We're looking for council to accept the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Fitchburg and Dane County for paving the Capital City trailhead parking lot.
I assume we're doing this, Tim, because of the crash history there or the fatality that occurred?
Yeah, so the intersection's being realigned, more of a T intersection, so Saline would be more of the through street once this intersection's realigned, and then traffic signal will go up, and as part of that traffic signal, we wanted to realign the trailhead parking lot driveway to the intersection, because where it currently exists, if we were to leave it there, it would not be at the traffic signal. So if you're coming into or out of the parking lot, we wanted to realign that driveway. And Scott, I have an exhibit here I can pull up and show you, Don, a little bit more. So right now the existing driveway's here, and with the new intersection configuration, we wanted to relocate it so that it would be at the traffic signal. Yes, that they'll be able to turn in there.
All right, maybe it'll be in the later discussion. The HSIP funding, is that paying for this?
Yes.
Okay.
Light where they have to turn into that parking lot. It's going to be very close, backup traffic somehow or other. Or
Say that again?
where the parking lot is going to be, you want it to open into where the light is, right? What you're saying?
Yes.
So if that does that, is there going to be a possibility of the traffic getting blocked up, backed up out into Syene because they're not being able to turn off of McCoy to get into the parking lot?
No, they checked the queuing when they did the traffic signal design, and there's no issues with queuing at the intersection.
All right.
Tim, there's another drawing under R0725 in our packet. It's on page 105 that shows a different configuration for the intersection.
Yeah, so what was included with R0725 was the state municipal agreement, which was executed back in 2022, and then the exhibit that was attached to that agreement was done back in August of 2021. So it was a conceptual plan at the time. So as the design kind of evolved, it was decided to add a splitter island on McCoy here. And kind of what the splitter island will function similar to County Highway MM and the McCoy intersection, basically where it will include a no turn on red sign that's out on that County Road MM and McCoy intersection, and then signal timing will allow bicyclists to cross the entire intersection with one light. And that was a design decision kind of made by staff prior to me coming on board. There was three alternatives that were presented to the TTC bike, and now it's the pedestrian committee, but at the time it was just the bike committee. Also discussed with Dane County park staff, kind of all three alternatives.
Okay, so the drawing that we see later on is an older drawing, not a newer drawing.
Correct.
All right. And are we concerned that there's been an incident with a car crashing into a biker in the slip lane at McCoy and Double M?
How recent was that?
Well, the intersection's not too old. It's the only crash that I'm aware of.
Okay.
But it.
McCoy heats MM.
Yeah. So in that slip lane with the no turn on red, a driver crashed into somebody who was crossing that slip lane. Are we concerned about safety issues, at this intersection with that slip lane?
I would say no. Typically with the slip lane, they tend to be more safe, hence putting them in versus just a normal right turn lane. So, just because it happened at McCoy and MM doesn't mean, it's going to happen here. But that is something that the KL would have looked at. With that just being in a couple years, I believe KL even worked on that intersection too, MM and McCoy. So I'm sure they were aware of that and took that into consideration for the design.
Well, I think the design of Sain McCoy was done before that incident occurred.
McCoy and Sain was done prior to it?
Right.
So it was recent?
It was more
Like this
recent than
past year?
I'd have to go check community maps to find the date, but it was, within the last, it was within the last 2 years for sure.
Okay. So it kind of coincided with when the design of this was going on.
Well, yeah, so the design of the McCoy-Sain intersection was completed, and at some point later, the crash occurred at McCoy and Double M.
Okay.
So like they say, somebody wasn't paying attention to not turn it on red and hit somebody? Is that what you're saying? Or how did it happen, I guess?
Yeah, I remember reading about it on Facebook, and I don't know if police reports were publicly available for that.
It's something I can have Ross kind of take a look into that, to kind of see if we can see the details of the accident, kind of who was at fault and what contributed to it.
Yeah. My concern is that there's plenty of pedestrian and bike traffic there, although it's, from the perspective of you behind the wheel of a car, there's not that much, and so you tend to not even bother looking for it.
Right.
But there is plenty of traffic that goes through there on foot or bike, and with a large turning radius, people tend not to slow down very much, and they also tend to look only to their left to see if it's safe from a car traffic perspective, and not even notice that there's somebody in the crosswalk, especially if they're approaching, at the same time from the same direction.
Any chance maybe just some advanced rumbles will help you? Wake them up a little bit when they get in there. They're an annoyance, but it does wake you up in a car if you're looking both ways then.
If I could add I would have been killed many, many times on my bicycle if I just assumed the car was going to stop. You have to make eye contact with the car. I have the right to go. Well, you're dead is dead. The car, obviously, I suspect the car was at fault, but you can keep yourself safe on that bicycle just by, don't go out there unless you made eye contact with them. They're going to stop too. It's more than just, I don't know if you can 100% foolproof things unless you spend millions of dollars on bridges.
Well, the alternative would be to have a much sharper turn radius so that the cars physically cannot turn fast, and they will be there long enough to notice that somebody is actually crossing.
Yeah, I got you, Bill.
Additional discussion? Okay. I guess we kind of got off on a little tangent there. So again, we're talking about paving the parking lot.
They're paving the parking lot, we're paving the lanes, right? Or the bike trail.
Yeah, we're relocating the bike trail. They're paving the parking lot.
And then in terms of ongoing maintenance, when that parking lot needs to be repaved 15 to 30 years from now, who does that?
Will be the county's responsibility.
Okay. And then what about the Cap City Trail? When that needs repaving, who, in general, who does that?
That is either the DNR or Dane County for the Cap City Trail on this segment at least. There are certain segments within the city that the city of Fitchburg would be responsible for. But I believe that's more west.
Don't we have a trail that comes into that, coming down from the housing development down there?
From the south?
Comes down Sain,
yeah.
partly Sain, comes over
Correct.
and meets it. That we have to take care of.
Yes.
Right, that's not the state trail.
Right, but they
Yeah.
meet each other.
Right. So I guess what I'm getting at is this is part of the state trail. We're on the hook for moving it because this is our intersection redesign. But once we've done that initial paving, then maintenance of it reverts back to the overlying jurisdiction.
Correct, and that initial paving that the county's paying for, so that it's just included in our contract. They wanted to utilize our contractor to get the economies of scale because of all the paving we're doing in our project.
Okay.
But they're going to reimburse us for that cost to put in that asphalt, the base rock, for the parking lot, all that. So they'll be reimbursing us for that cost.
Okay, so they're paying the bill for whoever we contract with to
Correct.
actually do the work. I
Yeah,
see.
we'll submit once the contractor completes work and we pay the contractor, we'll submit the county an invoice for that work, and then they'll submit us a check to cover that cost.
Okay.
Just so I have it clear in my brain, again, I understand we're the instigators, so that's why we're contributing towards it. I'm glad Dane County's actually participating in it. I'm disappointed, but maybe we never asked DNR. It's their trail. They should be interested in safety just as much as us and be a contributing party. Did we approach them and they denied it?
Well, so really the project's causing this with the realignment of the driveway and kind of reconfiguring the path. So if our project never came through, the county and DNR would just leave it as it currently exists. So since we're coming through at this time with this project, they thought it was a good opportunity to pave the parking lot. DNR didn't sit in on the conversation. I believe the county maintains this portion of the Cap City Trail, even though the DNR has been clearing some land. But that's something I can confirm.
Yeah, why don't you confirm it? Because I thought it was a DNR trail and they got some onus in this whole thing. It's one thing if they come out and say, I don't want to participate because you're the instigator, but they would not want to leave that trail downstream of where it currently crosses. They would want to put it at a safer location, and I just find it discouraging that if we asked them, why don't you participate cost-wise, they wouldn't have said, okay, let's make it a three-way split or something.
Bill, can I? just
Yeah, go
have one
ahead, Dave.
comment?
I wasn't sure if Tim was going to
Okay,
respond.
I'm sorry, Tim, if I jumped in, but we did get a federal safety grant for that intersection. I don't think it covers the whole cost, but we did get I believe we got a grant, for that safety improvement for the realignment.
Yeah, those are usually 90-10, and the 10% comes from the locals. In this case, because those are coming from DOT, DNR could participate in that 10% portion of it if they wanted to.
Yes, the city received with the grant, it was $1.7 million for this project.
Tim, when we pave the parking lot, are there stormwater implications in going from gravel to asphalt, gravel being mostly pervious?
Well, it's compacted gravel, so it's not like it is, not like a porous soil or sand. It is compacted, and then cars have been driving on it, so it's not as permeable or impervious as pavement, but it's pretty close.
Okay, so no additional or anything that needs to happen, the county will take, or I guess our guys would have to take care of it, but it doesn't sound like there is anything that we need to do special for that.
No, and the project would have incorporated that additional impervious area into it.
Okay. Dave?
No, I'm ready.
Okay, we're ready to call a vote. All in favor of resolution R0825, signify by saying aye.
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 It is again unanimous. Moving on to 6C, looking for a motion to approve Resolution R-1225, authorizing Dane County Services for stormwater and permit review and erosion control inspection in 2025.
Motion.
I'll move approval resolution R-1225.
Second.
Okay, looks like we have a member of the public here who wants to speak.
All right, so this is one of these tar baby things where it's really complicated. So what I'm suggesting is that the council is not going to take this up tomorrow. I'm suggesting that you postpone the vote and get a presentation on exactly what the process is for getting what happens when somebody applies for a stormwater permit till how it works. Because what's happening, what's the total amount of the contract that was paid last year in total? Do you have any guess to the county?
$17,480.
Okay. So $17,480 pays for all the review and all the inspections of all the stormwater protection stuff that happens here. $17,000, you get what you pay for. Okay? So what we're doing is we're contracting to the county, who has a person who sits in the corner who checks the least possible. So let's just back off for a second. So how does all this work? So in the new areas, it's mandated that the city either owns or operates all the stormwater facilities. So whatever is built ends up to be the city's responsibility. Now, I don't know, has this body gotten the TMDL presentation?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so, interesting, okay? And I'm going to ramble a little bit if you let me. So, I mean, obviously you got this, but, so it's 21% overage in phosphorus, okay? So our allocated amount, so this is to clean the Rock River at Janesville, say. It's not calibrated for anything around here. It's to, if everybody reduced it by their amount, their allocated amount through all the watersheds, you get something at Janesville that hits total phosphorus correctly, right? So we're 21% over, something like that, okay? And you got to get to 0% over. So, got a very large study, and Mr. Alderson is extremely qualified and competent. And so then they ran a bunch of scenarios about where you could put in new facilities to try and augment the phosphorus reduction to what we have. So the model comes out, $5 million, you take it from 21 to 18%. Okay, now do a little extrapolation. See, 21 divided by 3 is 7. And you probably took the low-hanging fruit in the first tranche of $5 million. You've got yourself a committed liability of $35 million. This is not trivial dollars. And that's just for Nine Springs Creek. Doesn't include the other ones. And, of course, if you look at the history of these TMDLs, I just happened to do it, what typically happens is that everybody reduces it, and it's still not good enough, right? The whole idea is if everybody did the right thing based on their model at Janesville, you're going to have something that meets the standard. And that almost never happens. It always comes up short for whatever reason, probably because it's all modeling. So you're looking at $35 million on the low end. Okay? This is real money. And the point that I'm trying to make here is that, so basically our stormwater ordinance is not sufficient. It doesn't have the things in it that are required to comply with our MS4 discharge. And what happens, it goes to the county person looks at they're supposed to be looking at their stormwater ordinance because theirs is better and more stringent than ours. They don't, they look at ours. And they make policy decisions like, so over at the crossings, there's the 2 ponds that are inline in Swan Creek. And that's a problem because how can Swan Creek get clean, which is the other aspect of this? It's not just that you have to meet your TMDL. You have to have a schedule, and you have to be investing money to clean up so that your actual creeks also meet the criteria. So what happened? Goes to the county. The county person approves that senior center thing that's right there of using the crossings inline ponds as their stormwater facility. For all of the park, McGaw Park, that all runs right into that those inline ponds all the way down. That picks up some speed. I mean, if you will go there and take a look at some of the solids coming off that big area going into there. So there's policy things that are happening that are not in the city's interest. There needs to be some planning here. And since there's no planning in the planning department, there's no planning anywhere. So how are we ever going to decide? So my point is that, so if we're going to tell somebody to build something, we approve it, and it comes back and, okay, well now, we got more phosphorus going in because what they built wasn't the top of the line, right? So this is the other thing is that based on because the city is going to inherit the infrastructure, the requirements that can be put on the developers for developing their individual stormwater infrastructure could be much more stringent because it's not them who's going to be responsible for meeting the permits on an ongoing basis, it's the city. And because this contract pipelines everything to this one person sitting in the corner, none of that happens. So every time a new project goes in, we're incurring more future costs. And $35 million is real money, and that's on the low end. So my suggestion is get a presentation. Let's get this in the open. Now that I know what's going on, I can force some planning. But with this contract in place, in the way that it is, with no control, no visibility, no anything, it's really hard to make any argument about any particular facility that's being built. And it's also hard to argue for a more sustained, larger watershed planning level effort, which is what it's going to take. You spent $1 million on the study. Now what? Who's going to do the planning? How are we going to, everything needs to be, there needs to be a level of integration between the city planning and the stormwater planning and the ecosystem protection. And this is a place where you can take a first step, at least understand what the process is. That's mine.
All right. Thank you for your comments. Tim, are you going to talk us through this, or is you going to let Ben do that?
I can talk us through it. If there's any particular questions, Ben could chime in and respond. So the city has a contract with Dane County Land and Water Resources, which was approved March 23rd, 2017 by Resolution R35-17. The city utilizes these services for the compliance review of stormwater management and erosion control permits and inspection. The 2025 operating budget has allocated $35,000 for Dane County erosion control and stormwater management review and enforcement services. The financial policy requires council approval for contracts exceeding $25,000. Fitchburg Common Council, we're looking to have authorized payment to Dane County Land and Water Resources as outlined on the attached pre-approval form.
I'll open it up for discussion.
Tim, I asked you earlier on this one, and I would think the rest of the council would kind of want to hear that. Again, it's pretty old, the agreement, that the question will come up is, why can't Ben do this? Why do we pay Dane County to do this when Ben has it? And then maybe for clarity, just based on previous discussion we just had, this is just to do best management practices out in the field, right? And then someone to go out in the field just to check that they're actually implementing it? Or is it something completely different?
It's kind of two-part, and Ben, you can correct me if I'm wrong. There's the review of the actual application, that they submit first, and then once it goes to construction, the on-site inspection starts at that time and lasts throughout the duration of construction. So as I mentioned during David Haight's public comment, the city spent $17,480 last year on these services. So out of that $17,480, $12,934 was to private development projects. So that's a pass-through cost that the city passes on to the developer for the time that Dane County spent on their permit application or on-site inspection. The remaining $4,500 were city projects. So that's something we could maybe look to do more in-house. For our projects, the city should, handle it either with one of our engineers or engineering technicians in the environmental division. So that's something we could look to. Ben and I believe it's been probably about a year ago when this came up. We talked about doing that in-house, but if we pull someone off of what they're currently working on, then that's not getting done. So if an engineering technician is sitting down doing a design for us, and he has to go out into the field to do this inspection, then that's just taking away time from the design. So it is a kind of a balancing act. But for the city projects, I think that may be something we could look to potentially incorporate into our workload.
Yeah, and I can just add for the city projects. Me, city staff, we're also reviewing those. Obviously, if it's a stormwater facility that is going to be the city's to maintain, we are going to review those and inspect those. So that's happening regardless. I'll just clarify also that when these reviews are completed by county staff, they're looking at our ordinance and they're looking at the county ordinance. In general, they are very, very similar. There's a couple things where the county is more stringent. There's, one or two things where the city is more stringent. So it's always the most stringent requirement between the two ordinances that is required. And as far as the inspection services, that is essentially, an individual coming to the city who, has all the appropriate erosion control and stormwater inspection training, who stops at the sites, works with the contractor to correct any deficiencies, and then sends us, the city, information if there's any continuing issues out there that they need assistance with getting resolved. So essentially that's what it pays for. Certainly city staff could do the reviews for private developments as well, if that was, something that, city leadership wanted to push for. But at the same time, it never hurts to have a second eye on things as well. So I'll just, I guess, leave it at that. I think, working with the county has been a positive thing. They have engineers over there that are, qualified, as much as anyone else really, to do these kind of reviews. And, so far it's been a good process, I would say.
Yeah, my only concern would be, and maybe it's more for council members' concerns, is there redundancy with it? Their spec, they know your spec, they're supposed to be looking at it with both eyes. If you end up looking at everything and they're looking at everything, then there's a redundancy there that someone would say, why do we even need them? You're already looking at this stuff. It'd be a capacity thing then where, as Tim mentioned, something dropping off your plate. So that's where the council members would want to know, so what's dropping off your plate if we don't do this thing? But
And Ben, I have seen the TMDL presentation both at RCC and at the committee of the whole meeting. And how would you characterize the city's stormwater management practices over the years? Would you say that there's been improvement, any regression in recent years?
Well, you can look back at previous wind slam studies that were completed, and things are trending upwards as far as increasing reduction of TSS and total phosphorus. So there is continual progress to meeting those goals. Certainly meeting those goals it is going to be a very difficult thing, not just for Fitchburg, but every single municipality that is in this TMDL. So certainly it's something that is going to require further and future attention, and it will come at a cost. As far as how our stormwater ponds that the city owns are designed, and if they're doing enough to meet the TMDL, really they are. Every single new development is going to have 80% TSS reduction. Every single development, unless there's some, issue with soils or something, or high groundwater, is going to have 90% stay on. So I feel comfortable with the new BMPs that are constructed as far as their ability to, make sure that the city's staying on the right track to meet TMDL requirements.
Specifically regarding the retention ponds at the crossing that apparently are directly connected to Swan Creek. I'm just looking at DCI maps, and it seems like those ponds were put in sometime between 2005 and 2010. Do you know the history of those and how they wound up that way? And are they truly directly connected?
So yes, they are considered inline ponds, as is the McKee Farms Park ponds, as another example of inline ponds. So essentially there was a waterway cutting through where those ponds are located now. Online ponds such as those used to be permitted by the DNR, so that they're fairly common in older developments. The DNR allowed it, and then at some point, I don't recall if it was 2007, 2008, somewhere around that time frame. They started not allowing those, mostly with concerns about thermal temperatures. If you have these kind of big open bodies of water in the middle of this stream, that's going to raise the water temperature, was one of the concerns. However, they essentially are grandfathering these ponds that were constructed prior to their change in ruling on that. And to take them offline would be certainly an engineering challenge, just with everything being built up, adjacent to it. I haven't looked at the potential to do so. No one from any regulatory body has asked for it. I couldn't even tell you what it would cost to take those ponds offline at this point in time. But yeah, that any pond that's going to be built in the city of Fitchburg, nowadays will not be an online pond.
Any other discussion? Okay. I'll go ahead and call the vote here. All in favor of resolution R1225, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Again, unanimous. Moving on to 6D, looking for a motion to approve resolution R0525, awarding the contract for construction of South Scion Road reconstruction phase 2.
I motion.
I'll move approval of resolution R0525.
Second.
Thank you. Tim, you want to walk us through this one?
Yes, so this resolution is for the award of the construction contract for the reconstruction of Phase 2 of South Saline Road. So Fitchburg Common Council approved Resolution R149-21, which approved the typical section for the South Saline Road reconstruction project from Aurora Avenue to West Clayton Road. Phase 2 of the project includes South Saline Road from East Sherrill Parkway to West Clayton Road. The project was advertised in the Wisconsin State Journal on August 13th, 2024, and again on August 20th, 2024, and was also posted on questcdn.com. On August 21st, 2024 at 11 a.m., 5 electronic bids were received and opened. Parisi Construction, LLC, was the low bidder at $3,222,005.65 and was found to be in compliance with the bid specifications. The 2025-2034 Capital Improvements Plan includes overall sufficient funding for this project. However, a budget amendment is required to ensure adequate funding amounts from water and stormwater to cover the water and stormwater improvements. So the Lacey Road reconstruction project is complete, and the costs for the water portion of the project were less than anticipated. The scope of the project to upsize the Schumann stormwater has changed significantly due to Schumann Drive being in better condition than anticipated. So we're looking for Common Council to approve the award of the construction contract for South Saline Road to Parisi Construction, LLC in the amount of $3,544,206.22, and that includes a 10% contingency. At the same time, we're looking to have Common Council amend the 2025 water utility budget to redirect $136,165 from the Lacey Road reconstruction project to the South Saline Road reconstruction project to cover the underage in the water main improvements. And then lastly, we're looking for Common Council to amend the 2025 stormwater utility budget to redirect $602,100 from the Schumann Drive stormwater project to the South Saline Road reconstruction project to cover the underage for the stormwater improvements for this project.
So how did I get started? In 2017, and this is one of the problems that you guys don't get to see. So in 2017, so what happened, North Stoner Prairie is a closed basin. It's up on a plateau, and it's got hills around. Water doesn't go anywhere. So when the neighborhood plan was developed, everything was supposed to go in the ground. Okay, now that's a problem anyway, right? If you think about it, all that water's got to go in the ground. That's a lot of water. So what happens? So developer gets a hold of the stormwater people, cuts a deal, and instead of the residential side on the east side going in the ground, and they built basically have these giant concrete culverts, cut them in half, turn them over, and they have infiltration facilities. They can infiltrate an amazing amount because it's on a moraine. It's all gravel. So the developer decides he does not want to put this in half. So what does he do? He takes it out, and you know where he pipes that Schumann stuff? Right into a nature park. Destroys it. It's been 6 years, and the damn budget's gone for the $400,000 because of Ben. He didn't give a damn about NR 103. He didn't care about fixing the park and the ecology and the hydrology. And now you're going to take the money from it you're going to pipe it in the sewer because that's where it all went when the backroom deal was made. It went down that 18-inch sewer instead of in the ground, or it went in the park and ruined it. So, first question, how come nobody gives a damn about fixing the economic and ecology damage in the park in R103? I'm trying really hard to not bring lawsuits here. Everybody's agreed that they violated NR103. Where is it? What's going on, man? We're building all kinds of new stuff. You can't take care of the old stuff. I got a commitment, and I made a commitment to my neighbors that that park was going to be put back the way that it was before it was wrecked, because the city didn't give a damn and they had no oversight. So now you're going to take the money. Well, take it, because it wasn't doing any good. It's just going down the damn road anyway. But this is the problem, you see. There's nobody looking at the watersheds and the ecosystems. It's not about getting an approval from somebody. It's what's best for the watershed. We don't do that. And this is an example. And on this one, I've had enough. There's nothing more that I can do. There's no one more that I can talk to. I've made a commitment to my neighbors, and it's going to have to be a clean water suit. I mean, this is what it's coming to. I don't want to do it, but at some point it has to be done. And it looks like this is the point. Thank you for letting me speak.
Dave Herbst.
Didn't we specify some ARPA money, some of the ARPA money for that project? And isn't it still in the budget?
For Schumann Drive?
For the ponds in the park where David was talking about, trying to restore the park down there. We put money. We had ARPA money allocated for that. Did the mayor take it out and put it somewhere else? It was part of the ARPA. We had that in the ARPA plan, the ARPA money to use it for that. Is that no longer in the budget?
I believe it's still in the budget, and the Schumann Drive project isn't going away, Ben. The money, there's still money there to do the project, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. There is still some money available in the budget, and there will be more if needed once we get some carryovers through from unspent 2024 dollars. I guess I'll also add we will be looking at trying to enhance the vegetation of the wetland kettles, through some prescribed burns this spring here. Unfortunately, we did complete a watershed study, for this area. We did get a couple ideas of trying to make some improvements. One of them was putting kind of a berm in adjacent to the eastern wetland kettle to allow it to basically hold more water. Due to other wetland concerns, the DNR wasn't a fan of that idea. So we also looked at possibly an NRCS wetland enhancement, which would include, some areas of dredging. But just talking with some of the ecosystem services experts that we work with, we felt that some prescribed burns would be a good first step. And putting in some native plugs. The Schumann Drive project, the meat of that is going to be installation of an overflow route into the kettle. for whatever reason, when that was designed, there wasn't an overflow route from that kettle. So water just has to keep basically stacking up until it would actually overflow over Schumann Drive. So installing that overflow route will kind of be one of the main design ideas with that Schumann Drive project.
Additional questions or discussion? Tim, the verbiage in here says that it's from East Sherrill Parkway, but the actual southern terminus is somewhat north of East Sherrill Parkway, right?
Correct. There's a portion, several hundred feet, that got completed just north of East Sherrill Parkway. So that where that phase 1 ended, from that point north will be phase 2.
Okay.
Up to West Clayton Road.
And 100% of the water and stormwater is within phase 2, right? I noticed the Gervasi business is actually in the urban services area, but that's in the where phase 3 is going to be. There's no water and sewer work being done at that far north, right?
Correct.
And in terms of construction, will phase 2 and phase 3 happen concurrently? I'm just wondering if there's going to have to be a transverse line across the road that will inevitably be the first place that needs maintenance in the future.
Yeah, that's a very good question, and the two phases will be taking place concurrently, and both, will be completed by two different contractors. So the northern phase is going to be completed by Rock Road, which was awarded by FDOT, or not FDOT, WisDOT. And then Parisi Construction, LLC, will be completing phase 3. So we'll be having kind of two different phases going on at one time by two different contractors.
And they can coordinate so that we have smooth pavement all the way through, and we only have to deal with seams in the pavement on North Sain and McCoy Road.
Correct, and kind of how we envision this project going is the weekly construction progress meetings will probably be happening all at one time with both contractors, the city and WisDOT, and also Rooker Milky for construction oversight, just for that coordination going on between projects.
Are the power lines going to be buried as part of this, or are they staying up?
I believe there is a section in phase 2 that they will be buried, and I don't have the limits of that, but I can provide that later on.
So I think right near the transition between phase 1 and phase 2 is where those power lines cross Sain Road.
Correct.
Any additional discussion? All right, I'll go ahead and call the vote. All in favor of resolution R0525 signify by saying aye.
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 Unanimous again. Moving on to 6E, resolution R0725, authorizing payments to the Wisconsin DOT for South Sain Road reconstruction phase 3. Looking for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve R0725.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All right. Tim?
Yes, the reconstruction of the intersection of Sain Road and McCoy Road is desired by the city to improve safety. By Resolution R100-22, the city of Fitchburg has approved a state municipal agreement with the Wisconsin Department of Transportation to fund up to $1,710,000 towards the construction of the intersection. On August 13th, 2024, WisDOT received 9 bids for the construction work of this project. Rock Road Companies Incorporated was the low bidder at $2,563,590.07. WisDOT will handle the construction management and inspection of this project through a consultant. The 2025-2034 capital improvement plan includes sufficient funding for this project. The Fitchburg Common Council, we're looking for approval to approve the construction oversight and inspection of this project to the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. And we're also looking for Common Council to accept the award of the construction project to Rock Road Companies. At the same time, we're looking for Common Council to authorize the payments to WisDOT for the construction and construction oversight in the amount of $1,451,048.59, plus a 10% contingency in the amount of $145,104.85, for a total of $1,596,153.44.
Discussion?
Just clarity. I think I know the answer, but again, they capped themselves, so any overruns is all us.
Correct. And there are some eligible and ineligible expenses for the project, so the ineligible expenses would be 100% on the city also.
So the 1.7 million in federal funding, that's a ceiling. That's not the amount that we will receive.
We will only receive that if we expense $1,710,000 in eligible expenses. So there is the scenario where we could not fully expense that entire amount, but we're pretty close with how the bid unit prices came in. I think we're projecting a little under that. We might get back $1,600,000 and some $1,000, so close to it.
Okay. I was just trying to add up the numbers. It said 3.243 million in construction plus oversight plus contingency, but the 1.71 and the 1.596 is
don't add
3.3.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's about 63,000 difference there.
Yeah. So the city's covering that and kind of leaving 63,000 on the table, but final pricing and what we get reimbursed will be based on actual constructed quantities. So that 63 won't be the final.
I was looking through some of the bid sheet, and I had a couple of questions on there. There's 35 square yards. It says concrete sidewalk to remove. Is that the existing concrete island on McCoy as you approach Sain from the east?
It could be that. It could be also kind of the tie-ins along Argus, or also the other intersections on this project, Central Park Place.
And then, so it also has like 250 feet of curb and gutter, and I wasn't sure where that was either in Phase 3. Because this is Phase 3, so this is north of
it would be
West
north.
Clayton Road. So I didn't know where the sidewalk or the curb and gutter was, except for, like I said, that island on McCoy.
Yeah, then that's most likely the location.
There's also mention of colored concrete. Is that actual dye mixed in with the asphalt, or is that paint?
I believe it's mixed in with the asphalt.
Interesting. Have we done that before in the city?
I've done it in Florida, but I believe that the city has done it. I believe it's been done on the phase one southern portion of this project. Lacey Road, there's some medians there that are painted red or have the red color.
Oh, that would be concrete though if it's the median, right?
Correct.
I think this said asphalt. Oh, no, it does say concrete. Never mind. Okay. Then a couple other things. I'm inspired by Don's $72,000 decimal point issue. So I was kind of looking through it for anything that had like a factor of 10 difference, and there was 213.0100 in the documentation there. One guy bid 500, and another guy bid 5,800. I don't know if that's just like lost leader stuff or.
Which line item was that?
213.0100.
213.
Control F is your friend.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like bidder 6 was 5,500.
Yeah, like 5,800 or something versus 500.
Correct. So bidder 1 is Rock Road, and that's who we're awarding to. So we would charge them or be charged $500 for that line item.
Okay. There was another one where 2 out of the 3 bid 1 cent per unit, and the other guy bid $45 per unit.
And what line item was that?
624.01, water. Right. Well, 1 cent times the 250 quantity there. Right.
Let's see.
And again, the high bidder was bidder number 3, so that's not who we're concerned with. It's just
right.
Just a little jarring to see numbers that far off.
Yeah. And you're going to, with all bids, kind of see that where certain contractors put it in this line item versus the other line item. Typically what you want to see is that the MOB's not real high. So our low bidder, Rock Road, is at $126,000 when the bidder number 2 was $146. Bidder number 3 is $214. So once they mob, we're only paying $126 to them versus dropping $214,000 like if we bidder number 3. So the water I do see we are lower, but yeah, bidder 3 had kind of that high number, the same one who had a high mob.
2 lines down, salvage topsoil, $165 versus $74,000.
Correct. Well, $450 is the bid price. $74 is the total.
Right.
So yeah, looks like our low bidder's charging a penny.
Right. Instead of $4.50
versus the $4 or $1.80. So
maybe found someone he can sell it to.
correct.
Another question I had. So we chose oversight for phase 2 and the state is choosing oversight for phase 3, and it's different people. Is there any reason that we'd be better off or not if we had the same outfit doing oversight for both phases?
So with our procurement process, we had to go with, someone who had submitted on our RFP, and the company that the WisDOT's using on their phase 3 did not submit on ours, so there wasn't that likelihood to utilize that. And I forget the company name. They're based out of, I think, Oregon, an engineering company that does a lot of WisDOT work for them. Let me see if I can Google their name real quick. Not getting it to pop up. But yeah, so just with our procurement, we weren't able to have that same company. But like I mentioned, the kind of how we envision the construction meetings and stuff, having all parties for both phases at one meeting for weekly or bi-weekly meetings throughout the project will help with the coordination and communication.
All right, anything else?
Tim, are we pretty sure on the storm sewer piping, linear foot? Again, when I look at when someone bids a penny and they're the lowest, they're just trying to get the bid, so they're putting that in. Where I look at is if they're higher than number 2 bidder on a lot of stuff, then maybe they're guessing the linear footage is wrong, and then that's where they make their money. Are we pretty good on there? Number 1 bidder is high on all the storm sewer piping bid items. So I'm just wondering, are we pretty solid on that, the linear footage there, or is that one they're going to make their money on?
It looks like they're low on their storm sewer pipe, the RCP. You're talking the item number 608.0412.
Yeah, I just looked at them in general, not any one in particular, because you go down the line, they're 85 a linear foot for the first one, next is 62. They're 115 linear foot, the next bidder is 65. 374 to, oh wait, that's estimated quantity, 102 to 67. So they're consistently higher than number, oh wait, hang on. Take that back. That's bidder 4. Never mind.
Yeah.
Gotcha. No, I jumped too far ahead.
And the company that's doing the construction oversight for WisDOT's JT Engineering out of Oregon. Okay. And they do a lot of WisDOT roadway work.
Anything else?
None.
All right, I'll go ahead and call the vote. All in favor of resolution R0725, signify by saying aye.
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 Unanimous again. Moving on to 6F, looking for a motion to approve resolution R0425, amending the 2025 water utility budget, limited term employment plumber for large meter replacements.
So move we approve resolution number R-04-25.
Second.
Second that motion.
Tim, where are we in all of the meter replacements?
So the Fitchburg water utility has started replacing all 1.5 inch and 2 inch meters with Badger ultrasonic meters. Per the Public Service Commission, the responsibility and cost of these replacements is with the utility, not the property owner, and must be completed by a master plumber. Hiring an LTE master plumber is a low cost, is a lower cost than hiring a plumbing contractor to complete the replacements, and is also more efficient due to the LTE's experience this past year with installing approximately 225 meters. There are funds budgeted in 2025 for the large meter replacement capital project that can be redirected towards the cost of an LTE master plumber completing the work. We're looking for the Common Council to authorize the LTE master plumber for 300 hours in 2025 to complete the remaining meters that we have.
Open it up for discussion.
Don't it?
This is the same master plumber.
That's been doing the work since late 2023.
You don't have any comparables to, I imagine City Madison has their own master plumber, but other communities around us, are they paying that same amount for their master plumber needs?
No, we did prior to posting this job description. I believe Tracy had a conversation with our building official, and he mentioned a master plumber from a plumbing contractor is easily over $120 an hour, and I believe we're paying our LTE $75 an hour.
That's a bargain.
Yes.
Okay. I'll go ahead and call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R0425, signify by saying aye.
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 It is again unanimous. Moving on to 6G, looking for a motion to approve Resolution R1125, approving the 2025 yard waste grinding services.
Motion approve R1125.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Tim, tell us what this is about.
The city of Fitchburg contracts out yard waste grinding services to process yard waste that has been dropped off at the recycling facility. The ground material is then windrowed as compost. The wood chips and compost are made available to Fitchburg residents and also used for city projects. Urban Forest Services, LLC, will honor their 2024 rate of $450 per hour for yard waste grinding in 2025. The 2025 operating budget included $30,000 for yard waste grinding. We're looking for a Common Council to authorize the purchase of grinding services from Urban Forest Services, LLC, and then authorize an amount not to exceed $29,700 for the purpose of yard waste grinding as outlined in the pre-approval.
Discussion on this.
I know we wouldn't do it, but would it pay for us to buy a grinder in the long run and just have vendors come in and do it for us?
We would have to take a look at the capital cost of the equipment and the annual maintenance of that, but I would foresee the volume that we do, it wouldn't be advantageous economically.
Okay, because we go through a big volume of it, so I'm just wondering if we buy. What does the parks do? Because they must grind their own stuff up in there. Don't they have a grinder?
Parks puts it in with ours.
Okay, gotcha.
I'll just do a little miniature public service announcement. I had initially thought that the word urban was misspelled, but that is apparently their name. U-R-B-E-N, not A-N. Okay, if there's no further discussion, I'll go ahead and call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R1125, signify by saying aye.
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 Unanimous again. Moving on to 6H, looking for a motion to approve Resolution R22524, accepting subdivision improvements for Phase 1 in the plat of 4th Edition to Terra Vesa. This was postponed from our from the January 14th Common Council meeting.
I'll move approval of resolution R 22524.
Thank you,
Second.
Dave. Thank you, Don. Go ahead and walk us through this, Tim. And is this was postponed because of the sidewalk misalignment?
Yes, so this was originally postponed due to the sidewalk misalignment. You know, I believe there was 8 or 9 different easements that were needed, and we just received the signed copies of those easements, so we're comfortable moving forward with accepting the subdivision improvements for Phase 1 in the plat of 4th Edition to Terra Vesa. So back on May 14th, 2024, Fitchburg Lands LLC and the City of Fitchburg entered into a contract for subdivision improvements in the plat of 4th Edition to Terra Vesa in the City of Fitchburg. The city engineer has inspected and conditionally approved the subdivision improvements required for lots 342 through 399 and outlots 78 through 81 of the plat, as well as outlot 38 in Terra Vesa, as being in the condition called for by the contract.
Any questions?
Tim, I think you answered it last time, but just refresh my memory. The plat revision, the cost of that is bore by the developer?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, if there's nothing further, I can go ahead and call a vote on this. All in favor of resolution R 22524, signify by saying aye.
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 Unanimous again. Moving on to 6I, I'm looking for a motion to postpone to date uncertain resolution R 22824, accepting subdivision improvements in the Inspiration at Swan Creek CSM. The developers, I guess, are waiting on Madison Gas and Electric, and we're not sure when they're going to get that information.
Yes, so the postponement's due to the MG&E has not installed their utilities. The developer we spoke to recently mentioned it's most likely going to happen in springtime, so we cannot accept the subdivision improvements until the MG&E utilities are installed because they were included in the original subdivision improvement agreement.
So we're looking for a motion to postpone.
A motion postpone R 22824.
Second that motion.
Dave W. got the second. He just didn't have his button turned
Okay.
on.
I'm gonna get to that.
He would be a good contestant on Jeopardy.
Okay, I think we probably have heard all we need to on this. I'll go ahead and call the vote. All in favor of postponing R 22824, signify by saying aye.
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 Once again, it is unanimous. And the last item on our list here is 6J. I'm looking for a motion to approve ordinance 224-037, creating an outdoor lighting regulation by creating Chapter 29 of Fitchburg General Code of Ordinances.
Motion 2024037.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I'll second it.
Didn't we have a lot of discussion on this the last time? If I'm not mistaken.
Very much so.
We did have a lot of discussion. I think this is the main reason why Ben Schulte is on with us tonight.
Yeah, I'd be happy to provide just kind of an update as far as what's occurred and what's been discussed at the other committee/commission meetings, and any of the changes that came out of that, if that's something you'd like.
Please.
Sure. So it was approved by RCC with an amendment to eliminate in section 28-5 the exemption for lighting for 1 and 2 family dwellings. So that was the version that was approved by RCC. Then it went to Plan Commission where it was approved. They had added a couple things that you can see track changed in red in the draft in front of you. So there were questions about handling lighting for festivals, for like concerts on McKee Farms Park, for example, how that would be handled. So we added an exemption to any temporary lighting associated with large-scale festival events. So there's already an existing large-scale festival event permit outlined in a different section of the ordinance. So anything that would come through for that permit would be exempted from the standards in this document. There was also some clarification added to enforcement and penalties. So this, as provided in section 1-21B, just refers to basically the fee, or not fee schedule, I guess I'll call it penalty schedule that already exists in the city ordinance. They also did have one change, which they just included as an amendment before they approved, and that was for the city attorney to look at some language in the special permit section. So specifically, section 28.92, where it describes the application for a special permit. It states, application for a special permit shall include the basis for the application, which shall be one or more of the following. The application of this chapter may cause a manifest injustice to be done. So that manifest injustice language was questioned. So they just wanted to get the city attorney input on if that's the appropriate language in that section. So outside of that, there were some other discussions in Plan Commission regarding exactly like police lighting, emergency services lighting, and just wanted to make it clear that any lighting needed for emergency services is not the intent of this ordinance. So we're not trying to, make up standards or, interfere with any kind of lighting that would be needed if, there was a car accident or a house fire. That's not at all the intent of what we have here. Other than that, yes, Dave.
Is it, Ben, I'm not sure if I saw it. Is this inclusive of the entire city, both urban and non-urban service territory?
It is. So this would apply to, and this is spelled out in the section 28-4. Essentially, it's going to be any development that has outdoor lighting that goes through the architectural control approval. So basically the architectural design review process.
Typically, tell me if I'm wrong, someone, they got the farm out there and they want to put some more lights out to protect their chicken coop. That's not going through an architectural review. Am I correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It could be rural, but I can't think of a recent ADR that was at a rural site, but it could happen.
Okay. Thank you.
But when Edgewood comes out to the O'Brien farm, what about the big lighting that's going to go up there? There's going to be a lot.
Yeah, that's a great question. And Mike Zimmerman and I had had some discussions with some of the folks at Edgewood and their engineer. Of course, when you have a unique land use like playing fields, sports fields, it requires lighting that isn't your typical, lighting that you're going to use for a parking lot. Of course, they need the higher intensity just to make it a usable sports complex. So that's where the special permit section comes in. So basically, if there's a site where just, primarily due to their use, they just can't comply with all of the requirements in this ordinance, they can apply for this special permit, basically outline the reasons why they can't comply with the standards, and include some kind of a narrative that basically is, showing that they are working, to the maximum extent practicable to meet the standards. They're using, the best available technology to get as close to meeting the standards as they can. And if they can show, those things that they really are trying to meet the intent of the ordinance, then their application could be approved via this special permit process, and that would be an administrative approval. So that would be something that our zoning administrator could approve administratively.
What about a nighttime deal where you're going to limit how late they can have them on and stuff like that too? Because eventually it's going to be built out that way sometime.
So currently there isn't anything in here regarding timing. So there isn't any language regarding, lighting at specific times throughout the day.
Well, now I don't see a problem with it, but as the city ends up deciding to let development go that way and you get houses out there, then it's going to have the problem with the lighting and stuff being on late at night. There might be a problem with it, is where I'm coming from. It wouldn't bother me.
Yeah, I would just say I don't want, I don't want the Catholic haters on Monroe Street, to move out there and they'll throw all their political will behind preventing, high school athletics from going on, at college. I will profess that I am still irritated as hell over that whole deal, and I don't want to see that happen in our city, and my fear has been, I guess I'll be honest, that say we want to approve a development that seems to make sense, and neighbors will try to use this to just stop. Well, they're going to violate the lighting ordinance. I know you've thought about this already. I'm just not crazy about this type of thing. I think it can be voluntarily. That's all.
Been a lot of subjectivity in this interpretation, enforcement, all that. Is, if I'm reading it right, the city zoning administrator has the approval authority, or is it Tim or a group or committee, or who determines if someone's in compliance or not, and if they're going to do enforcement?
Yeah, so you're correct. It would be the city zoning and planning administrator for this current language. And then, of course, if there were, found to be issues, then that's when those penalties could come into place.
And I guess regardless of how the fines are going to be assessed, we would ultimately, if somebody pushed back, we would have the city attorney's opinion to lean on, right?
You don't want to have to get into that.
Yeah, I mean, it should be either. Really, it's pretty clear cut. Either they put the lighting in that they said they were going to, or they didn't. If they didn't, I don't know how they could argue that a fine is inappropriate. They're going to the whole effort of submitting all of the lighting cut sheets, the photometric plan. So if there was, stuff that showed up on site that wasn't approved by anyone at the city, I think that's pretty clear cut. It'd be like someone saying they were going to build a half-acre stormwater pond for their project, and we go out there and it's half the size. I mean, it's just like, this isn't right. It should be pretty clear cut.
Okay.
Is, maybe I read it wrong, but hardship is determined by, not the administrator, zoning administrator, it's determined by council, legal counsel, correct?
So, you know, that would be something that would probably be a decision that would be, you know, involving legal counsel, you know, as well as the city zoning administrator.
Additional discussion?
I don't think there's gonna be a big deal over it anyway.
Shouldn't be.
Huh? No.
Shouldn't be.
Not unless there's a hardship case where maybe somebody all of a sudden is paralyzed and needs some type of lighting set up. I think the city would be willing to work with them. They should be, right?
There's
Yeah.
Contract, you're gonna have lots of, was determined, you're gonna have the neighbor next door squealing on this neighbor, and they're just gonna be chasing lots of stuff, so.
Yeah. Let's vote.
Yep.
All right. I will go ahead and call the vote. All in favor of ordinance 2024-0-37, signify by saying aye.
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 Nay.
Nay.
I got voted out.
Well, that's a tie.
It's a tie. Tie. No, that's fine. It just goes to council and, you know, say
Right.
it was a tie in Board of Public Works.
Okay. Moving on, item 7A, announcements. Our next Board of Public Works meeting will be Monday, February 3rd at 5:30 PM. Anything else anybody wants to talk about for announcements? Okay, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so
Motion.
move we adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 We are adjourned at 7:26.
Bill, thank you for chairing. I appreciate it.